Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Julie and I mostly make content surrounding topics such as music, makeup, as well as mental health. Today's video is a laid back, get ready with me. I have a job interview in 2.5 hours, so we gotta get our makeup done and have some lunch and get right to it. So essentially, I already filled in my brows, primed my eyes, and I'm going to be using the Profusion Cosmetics Mixed Metals Glam Palette. I love this palette. I actually got it from a student in my internship as a gift, so thank you. Profusion Cosmetics is a really good makeup brand, by the way, and I am using this Sigma E35 tapered blending brush. I don't use this blending brush all that often, but for neutral looks I will. So I'm going to dip into the shade Cookie, which is right there, and I'm gonna pack it just messily into my crease. It's just a brown, like a gosh darn cookie. So there you go. Yeah, so anyways, this is a big life update for me. I have 2 job interviews this week. So I have one today at 2 and then I have another one tomorrow at 12:30. They are both virtual via Zoom, Google Hangout, whatevs. And I'm thrilled about that because I'm wearing a cute little shirt and sweatpants. I get to wear sweatpants for work, for interviews, for everything virtual, and that just makes me feel thrilled. I think that's freaking awesome. So I'm really excited about that. I'm nervous, not as much for the interviews. If you don't know, if you are new here, I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. Now I'm gonna go do the other side. And so the state that I live in, once you have a master's degree in social work, counseling psych, something in that realm, you are eligible to apply for jobs as a therapist. However, you can't practice independently, like you can't just start taking your own clients and having private practice until you are licensed. So if you go for your master's in social work, you would end up licensed as an LCSW first, licensed clinical social worker, and then you would go on to get your LI, so licensed independent, and that's when you could go on your own. I have a master's, as I said, in counseling, so I'm pursuing my LMHC. So that's licensed mental health counselor in my state. I need to work as a therapist for 3,360 hours. I need to have a certain amount of direct client contact. So that's actual therapy sessions. That's not just filling out paperwork and things. It's actually working with clients in some capacity. And I also need to receive supervision from an approved supervisor. So that's going to be another licensed therapist that's had their license for at least 3 years and been using it, you know, working in the field for all of that time, so that they have enough experience. So really, ultimately for me, y'all know I can't wear a mask, so I only wanted remote options, but I didn't know if there were any. And a while ago, it was all the way back in December, I started looking for jobs. Now I'm going to go in with the Sigma E25 blending brush with the shade Tricky. It's just a darker brown. I'm going to pack that in the outer corner and bring it into my crease, even though I'm doing wing liner over it. So be it. But as I was saying, so since I'm only looking for remote work, I only have so many options because there are some clinicians who are doing in-home therapy right now, and no, that's not an option for me. There are options in my field, luckily, right now for remote work because of COVID and everything, but you'll also know I have agoraphobia and social anxiety, so ultimately I'd love to just work from home for the rest of my life. So it was great that there were some options. So this interview is with a company that they're kind of like BetterHelp, if you've heard of BetterHelp, but they're not. They're a little more advanced than them. So BetterHelp is an online therapy service, but I don't believe that they can diagnose you clinically, and that they can't talk to your other providers. So I have some ethical issues with BetterHelp personally. I understand that if people don't have access to regular therapy, that might be something that they have to do, and I totally respect and understand that. It's not on the client at all. I just feel like we need more. We need the whole experience of what therapists do for people, ultimately. And so this place is mostly an online therapy service. My camera randomly stopped recording. Great. I'm already super nervous, and so that helps. Anyways, so this company hires clinicians and they can see people, but it's through insurance, unlike BetterHelp. I believe they do work with insurance and they can diagnose, so it's the whole perspective. However, when it comes to licensing in my state, from what I know, I can't work in a private practice until I am independently licensed. So I do have to ask about that in my interview, but they were hiring people like me. So essentially when I'm looking for a job in my state, I'm gonna type in master's level clinician or unlicensed clinician, which it's totally ethical for me to work without my license. But again, I need to have supervision and I need to be in a certain place. Now I'm just gonna go back in with Cookie because I nervously sat and just blended like a dark brown for no reason for super, super long because I was just talking to y'all. And I'm gonna blend it around a little bit, and I'm just using light pressure as well. I didn't blend in because this is more about me and my life and less about the makeup, although I'm giving you a bit of both. So yeah, I don't know if I can even work at this place, but it seemed promising. So I'm going on the interview and I'm going to ask questions and I'm going to go from there and see. So this place, even though it is online, they do have offices in 35 out of the 50 states, my state being one of them. And there are some local to me. Obviously, those aren't going to be open for a while, but I prefer remote work anyway, so it works for me. I just don't know if it's an option. The other job definitely is an option, so that's good. At least one of them is totally doable, and I was glad that it worked out that I had this interview first so I could figure that out. And Hughes, this ethereal NB, wow, I'm very nervous, is going in with the shade Ethereal. It is a shimmer. I'm just going to use my finger despite how sweaty my finger is from anxiety. I say that in like every makeup video, but I don't like using a brush. This shade is not super vibrant or anything, but again, we're just doing a neutral look here, so that's totally okay. Just to have something on my lid, you know, but despite this being a neutral look, I'm me, so I've decided, too bad for jobs, I'm wearing my septum down. I used to be a little, not ashamed of having it, but like, oh, are they not going to hire me because they think I look weird, or, you know, I don't know. In my internship, I flipped it up and no one asked me to. I just felt weird about it. But F that, when I have to do that, I feel really weird about my identity. I look at myself and I'm like, who the F is that? My piercings are part of who I am. They're part of my identity and self-expression, and they're important to me, so I'm keeping them. Plus, there's a ton of social workers with septum piercings. There's a ton of us. There's a ton of us alt people that love mental health and decided to do that for work, right? So I think it will, it'll work itself out, and it'll be okay. Anyways, I did that really messily. My hands are going like this, my dudes, but I'm gonna go back in with Tricky just a little bit and blend out what I did real quick. I love that you don't need to tap off the excess on these shades and that you don't get a ton of fallout, but you still get the pigment that you want. I'm also going to just take this brush with nothing on it and blend a little bit more, but I'm happy with the colors here. So yeah, I'll continue talking to y'all in a few. I'm going to do liner and lashes and I'll come back, okay? Hey crew, I'm back. I am very nervous, so some things I'm just going to have to do off camera. I'll do as much as I can on camera and try to chit chat. But I did primer. I also, for a pop of color, took the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in Piggy Bank and put it in my waterline because I'm going to do a berry lip, because berry lips are pinkish purple, so they still have a fun pop of color, but they're also kind of neutral if that's what you're going for, you know. I just love to express myself. I can't just do all neutral unless I personally want to do all neutral that day. Anyways, this is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Water Foundation. It doesn't have a ton of coverage, but it's very dewy, and I like that for my dry skin. Oh, I better not get this everywhere. Give me a sec, y'all. Woo! Woo! Woo. Okay, that's probably like way too much foundation. Whatevs. You guys watch things on Instagram all the time where people wear way too much foundation, right? They put the whole bottle on themselves almost. It's like pretty wild. I don't know that this is the best color match for me, but I'm gonna put concealer over it, so it's all good. But I do really, really like the finish of this foundation since it's more dewy and your human has very dry skin. But anyway, back onto the front of jobs. Yeah, so this is kind of crazy to me, and I'm gonna open up about some ish that I haven't. I'm not gonna speak poorly on any people. I'm just gonna speak the facts. So I was in grad school last year, and in the fall of 2019, I started my graduate level internship, and that was also around when I started my YouTube channel. I started this channel, I think, December 2019, and I talked about how I was an intern and that I was going for my school adjustment counselor license along with LMHC, which is why I was interning in a school setting, because ultimately I wanted to be a school adjustment counselor. I knew I wanted to be a therapist eventually, but I have imposter syndrome, and we'll get to that later. So I didn't particularly want to do it right away, whereas I've worked in schools for years and years and years and have, you know, so much of that experience on my resume. I felt really qualified, and that felt like the next right step for me. It wasn't. Yeah. Well, when I worked in my hometown, they were very accommodating of my anxiety and different things, and I was so grateful to work there. My school, Goodyear Elementary School, shouting you out right now, 7 years of service. Y'all are so trauma informed, and my mom still works there. You guys are friggin' awesome, and I know I can count on an amazing recommendation from my boss. I was a teacher's aide in kindergarten for 7 years, and I love her so much. So much. I loved that job with all my heart. It was the only job that made my mental health better instead of worse, because it gave me purpose and structure, and it was part-time while I was going to school. Now, the reason I realized I didn't want to be a school adjustment counselor, so there were a few pieces to it. So one is clinically, I was friggin' bored, y'all. I was bored, and I'm not speaking on all schools in general because I haven't been to them all, but the ones that I worked in and where I interned, there were some pieces that were clinically like fascinating, but not to the extent of therapy. And so the difference is, in my internship, although I did some individual counseling and group counseling, the coping skills that I taught to my students or talked about with my students were focused on helping them to cope in school, because I wanted to be a school adjustment counselor. Adjust to school, right? So that is what I was told. I was told I wasn't really allowed to do therapy with them, which I was like, bro, but like, I'm studying for my master's in counseling, and that's what all my schooling is for, and I'm definitely qualified to give these kiddos therapy, but you know, there's all these ethics that get in the way. So I didn't love that. I didn't like the politics of school or administration or power dynamic. I'm just gonna say all that loud and clear. Even though I had a good experience at my old job, this was not the same. So my internship, I loved it with all my heart. I am so grateful for the experience. I'm so grateful for the students that I met, and realizing that I had an interest in working with teens clinically, because my internship was in a middle and high school. I went between the two, and I really have zero complaints for the most part about how I was treated and respected, and I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for it. But on January 29th, 2020, oh no, January 31st, 2020, last year, my supervisor brought me into an office for a conference call with my school, and she made it out like we were just trying to be on the same page with my school, make sure that I was doing everything right for supervision. She let me go. Yeah. And it had nothing to do with my performance. She told me I'm a genius. Yeah, thanks, I am. And she told me I had really good strengths in my clinical abilities to build relationships with the students as well as all the clinical pieces. Like I did a lot of group modules where I taught the kiddos CBT and DBT skills, which was really awesome. And I do agree that those were my strengths, but I was let go because I struggled to function in the school setting due to my anxiety. Yes, that's what I was told. And because I was not paid, they were able to let me go. If I was an employee, they would have had some issues. So I wasn't on the payroll. I interned full-time for 5 months for free. I also did my practicum for free. And again, I'm grateful for it. I love my supervisor so much. She was an amazing woman, and I don't think that this had to do with solely just her or even the other people that were overseeing me. I really think it was an administrative thing and that there was more to it than that. But it really broke my heart. I did understand the argument of, oh, it affected the kids. Yeah, I think it affected the kids more that I just left and they were lied to about why, but sure, like, okay. And so that was really devastating and heartbreaking. And as I previously said in this video, I already have imposter syndrome. So when I first went to grad school, oh my gosh, this was January 2018, they talked about imposter syndrome and how we were all going to get it. So essentially it's where you are definitely qualified to do a job or task or whatever, but you feel like you don't know anything and you can't do anything. And it's all emotional. It's not logical or rational at all. Like I said, I have a master's degree. I make mental health videos on here all the time, and I'm very passionate about what I do. But I get in my own way. And so when I was let go from that internship, especially because the whole time I was like, I'm terrified I'm going to get let go because of my anxiety. And it happened. And so now I'm terrified about that wherever I go. And it was also really scary and traumatizing to me to think about, now I have to tell this story to new employers. You know, if they ask anything, and beyond that, I only completed 600 hours, which is totally fine for LMHC, but not for school adjustment. Although I can go in through a panel review later on if I, down the line, decide I want to be a school adjustment counselor. So that's that. That was a long rant. Hold on. All right, y'all, let's do the lower lash line and try to get back to that topic, but I think I covered it enough, and I want to cover it in a respectful way. I'm not trying to tarnish the reputation of other people, but I don't think it was just about my mental health. I think there was more to the story than that, but at least it didn't have to do with my performance. So I'm using my E25 and I'm just taking Tricky and I'm putting it under my eye, which now I look like I have a black eye. That's wonderful, but we're gonna blend. It's all good. It's all gonna come together like it always does in makeup looks. Everything's gonna be okay, Jules. That's right. But yeah, so an experience like that was really humiliating for me, but you want to know the funny thing, and I hope that this inspires someone out there who maybe has been through something like this, maybe someone like me who has mental health conditions and works in mental health, because it's very stigmatizing for sure. So like I said, January 31st, 2020, I was let go. February 1st, 2021, I had 2 job interviews lined up, and it all was going to work itself out. So here we are. I'm going on the first one today, and then I'm going on the other one tomorrow. So to get more into those, I'm not sure, I don't know what I'm doing with my under eyes. This is just blah. I'm not sure if this first one can even take me because of supervision, and I don't want to have any issues with my licensing because, as y'all heard, I had issues with my internship. So I don't want to go through that particularly. That would be very upsetting. So I do have plenty of questions to ask them, and they're a big organization. I believe they were created by clinicians for clinicians, because clinicians were sick of having so much paperwork and politics and things like that, and so they wanted to go on their own and make a more accessible service, essentially. I don't know if I'll get either job or which job I will take if I do, but I'm just pushing myself because I want to move out this year, and it's time. It's time for me to get out of the house. I turned 30 this year, you know, it's way over time for me. And yeah, so I'm just gonna blend this out because I brought it way too far down. Ah! But again, I'm very, very nervous, and I was scared to even do my makeup today, but I was like, if I film a gosh darn YouTube video, I'll be able to do it. I shouldn't have used such big brushes. See, that's the thing. I had nice detailed brushes, but I didn't feel like cleaning them off, so I said, whatever. It's okay. I have under eye bags, so it's okay to bring eyeshadow really far down like that. I think it's cool beans. Look at that. We got a nice blended bit of brown. So next up, oh, there goes my Duo lash glue. It just fell. I'm going to use a ColourPop highlight in Flexitarian, and I'm going to use that here too, but for now I'm just putting it in my inner corner. I'm just stamping it right here. Again, since these are cream based highlights, they don't work too well with a brush. But if y'all are curious about my other interview, that one I know I would have good supervision. I would have access to trainings. I think it would be a good fit because I'd mostly be working with child and families, which, as I told y'all, I worked in schools for a long time. So I did work with children and families. I mean, for me, primarily kids, because I didn't have to communicate with the parents as much since I was a teacher's aide and not the teacher themselves. But I do have that experience, and it seems like a good next step. So I haven't decided which job I will take, if either, like I said, and I'm not going to know till I go on my interviews. That interview is tomorrow afternoon. Yes, I was smart about it and did not want to schedule 2 interviews in a day because I would have a panic attack. I already feel like I'm having one right now. I call those, internal panic attacks where my body isn't panicking as much, but my brain's just like, and it's pretty overwhelming. So yeah, but we got a cutesy little look. I don't think I'm going to do much else on camera because I talked to y'all for a while. I'm going to do contour, highlight, lips, and then I'll come back and film my outro. Hopefully I have enough footage for a little get ready with me. Hello, my lovelies. I'm back. Here is the finished look. I did have some trouble with my lipstick today. I love lime crime lipsticks. I mean, we have Jeffrey canceled, so we can't really use his too much anymore. But lime crime, your lipsticks are so insanely pigmented. They're so hard to apply perfectly. And I even used a lip liner, but you know what? It's okay because I look cute. I'm very nervous. I think I'm going to straighten my hair, even though I never do that. So if you see the thumbnail and you're like, Jules's hair didn't look like that in the video, that's why. But this is it. Wish me luck on my interview as well as my interview tomorrow. I am very excited and I'm also terrified, but at least I feel that this isn't a disordered form of nervous because almost everyone is nervous for an interview, and if we weren't nervous, then we wouldn't go to the interview or prepare. If we had zero anxiety, we might forget about it and not care. You know, some baseline level of anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion that serves a purpose and can be helpful, or fear per se. It's when it gets higher up that we have to learn how to cope with it. But anyway, I'm not going to sit here and rant all day. Oh look, I've already been talking for a minute, haven't I? Well, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel as well. You can follow me on my social medias. My Instagram is Julie_counseling, and my Facebook page will be linked in the description box down below as well. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye all.